So this is the question that I asked myself probably a good couple years ago when I got into entrepreneurship, and still to this day, and probably for the rest of my life, I'm continue to figure out if there's ever going to be a more optimal way to work. And it's interesting because my thoughts on ways that are optimal to work has changed slightly. Originally, in the beginning, it was how can I work for as long as possible and, as consistent as possible and get as much work done. Right. It was all about, right, let's just get loads and loads of stuff done. And originally, I was someone that would be really just tracking loads and loads of my time that I was working. I would aim for, 6 hours of, focused work every single day, which was actually quite a lot to do consistently. And that's like tracking the specific times I'm working. It's not like over a period of time, it's like logging that specifically. And what I've been finding more so, at least with the work that I'm doing now with my sort of AI game development, I'm finding that, it doesn't benefit me trying to force loads of work, for example, later in the day, later, for example, towards the evening. And I'm coming to realize that, or at least for me at least, I feel like I've only got so much, energy and, focus that I can give in, I guess, a given day. And I'm also finding that the energy and focus that I do have, it differs throughout the day. I find that, at least for me, I'm more focused in the morning. And so I aim to get, ideally two 90-minute work sessions done in the morning, get that out the way. And then I've got, a few bits that I can do later in the day. But when I'm thinking about optimal work, now I'm trying to think, well, how can I genuinely build consistency with the work I'm doing? And we hear consistency and we think, okay, keep doing the same thing, whatever. But I didn't actually realize that, you know, trying to keep up a sufficient amount of work without having as many of those days where you just fall off is actually quite difficult. Because I found for myself when I was, for example, trying to hit, 6 hours of focused work every day, I would have days where it started off a little wrong, and all of a sudden, you know, it was either right, I need to hit the 6 hours, or I'm not going to do it. There was never actually trying anyway. So there is a danger, I think, with expectations around work, where if we shoot too high, sometimes we can feel as if there's no point even trying, and we just write off the day and say, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. Because, effectively, we like, well, it's either we do it, we don't do it, or we try to do it but fail anyway. And that's an interesting thing where, at least for me now, I'm trying to figure out, right, well, what is actually the bare minimum, right? What is something that I can genuinely hit consistently that I'm going to feel good about, which for me is two 90-minute work sessions a day. Ideally, I get those both done in the morning, but as long as I can hit those two sessions every single day, that's what matters to me. If I can do a third session in the afternoon, maybe a lighter session somewhat later on, then that's cool as well. But I think it's knowing what that limit looks like, it's knowing what you can do. And, you know, if you're someone that struggles with focus, with, putting consistent energy and your effort into something that's meaningful to you, then set the bar even lower. But I think one of the difficult things that I've really dealt with is just when I set the bar so high, where if I did have a bit of a slow start, all of a sudden there was so much more pressure on me, and a lot of the times, if it was too far out of reach, then I wouldn't even bother to begin with. So I think really the point of this video is that I don't think there's really an optimal way to work. Obviously, I'm going to still try and adjust, my routine and stuff to try and figure out what's working best. But I think we've only got a certain amount of focus and energy, and what matters is consistency. There's no point, spending, 8, 9 hours one day on work, or 1 or 2 days, only to just completely crash out and relapse on whatever and do no work on the third day because you got burnt out, right? So it's a matter, or at least for me, building consistency. and feeling like the efforts that you're putting in are actually being rewarded, or at least that you could see them being rewarded over time. Let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know if you've found an optimal way to work for you, and your thoughts on this. And I'll chat soon.